Hey, I'm Stanley Wise, and I'm owner of Wise Family Farm. Some of you may have been to our farm where we have a pumpkin patch and a corn maze in the fall. We also do some spring activities, and I'm here today to show you a little bit about how we get plants started and how we grow things here on the farm. And I hope you enjoy it today. It's fun for me, and that's why I do it. but it's really fun to dig in the dirt or play in the dirt, but it's really not dirt, it's soil. And you've been studying about that, all about how soil is made and composting. And I'm going to show you a little bit how we use those things at Wise Family Farm. So if you'll step with me to a moment. I have a greenhouse. I actually have two greenhouses. One of them is a portable greenhouse that's fully enclosed, and we use it to baby our plants. You know, little babies they like a warm place and a nice warm place, and we keep them under blankets when babies are new. And so same thing with plants. We want them to be happy and we want them to be healthy, and so we keep them as warm as we can. It's a little bit cool out here this time of the year. It's not quite ready time to plant our garden. Normally we wouldn't plant in the soil out here until a little bit, about April 15th to April the 20th, and maybe a little bit later than that. But we can plant a little bit early on Wise Family Farm, and I'll show you why. But I'm going to show you, this is our completely enclosed greenhouse, and this is where we keep the little baby plants, and we'll show you them in a moment. And behind me is a great big, sort of a greenhouse. It's called a high tunnel, and it doesn't have any heat that I add to it. It is strictly using sunshine for the heat and nice cool breezes to cool it down. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in a minute. But let's go into our fully enclosed greenhouse and show you the little babies that's growing this morning. You know, I got them zipped up in here, and let me tell you something. I'm standing here at the door, and this sunshine is nice and bright this morning, and it's been shining for an hour or so. And when it's probably around 55 to 60 degrees out here this morning. Last night it got down to 46, but when I open this door, it feels like it's 80 degrees coming out of there. I can feel the heat coming off the plant. So I'm gonna let Mr. Shannon, who is our county agent, and he's filming. You might not get to see him on the deal, but let's step in there, Mr. Shannon, and take a look what we got growing. We got two things growing in the high tunnel. Let's go on in. It's a little warm in here, isn't it? And it's a little warm in here, but I have tomato plants. These are my little baby tomato plants. I'm going to show you those a little bit closer in just a minute. And then I have some sunflowers. I'm trying to get some early sunflowers this year. I have a family member that wants to have a wedding in May, and it's hard to get sunflowers in the field in May, so we're going to grow them some sunflowers in some containers and pots and get some early sunflowers so they'll have them for decoration. And so we've planted those in little cell trays, and we'll transplant those to a bigger container later. So let's talk about these tomatoes. And I'm going to carry a few of these tomatoes with us as we go to the high tunnel, that bigger greenhouse. But see how healthy these babies are? They're pretty and green, and then really nice, and they really enjoy where they've been, and they're going to even enjoy where we're going in just a minute. So let's step on into the high tunnel. What you see is bales of hay. And this hay is what you played on if you came out to the corn maze in the fall or saw the decorations, and we had them on bales of hay. And we put these bales of hay in here, and we're going to grow things in them. Now you might think, well, how can you grow things in a dry bale of hay? Well, I mentioned in the beginning that we do no-till, which means we do not till the soil. If you look at my greenhouse, you'll see where weeds have been. We've taken a herbicide and we've killed them so that we don't have any interference from weeds when we plant our crop in here. But we don't till the soil. I've had this greenhouse now for 9 years, and I've never tilled the soil. I just grow I grow tomatoes here, and I grow them in a bale of hay. Now, this bale of hay is not the same bale of hay that you played on in the fall. We've kept water on top of it. If you notice in the middle of the house, that little green stand, there's a sprinkler on it. And I water it, and the reason I water it is I want to wet this bale on the inside. So the bacteria and the fungus in there will compost that bale into soil. And now I think you already had a program on, well, the Master Gardeners did on composting. And so you understand what compost is, but compost is no more than soil, and it's a very rich soil. And inside these old brown gray bales of hay, I'm going to show you there is some soil. And I got that soil by adding some water and adding some food for those bacteria called nitrogen. And that's a nutrient that we use. You know, we have to have vitamins to make us healthy. Well, the same thing plants do. We call it nitrogen. And so we're going to go and we'll take a little closer look, Mr. Shannon, and let's look at one of these bales of hay inside. So we're going to take this bale now, and I'm going to pull it apart, and look at how nice and dark that is. And it's becoming soil. And as the summer progresses and we keep feeding these plants, I mean, we put our plants in here, this is going to make a really nice little cozy bed. It's wet, it's damp, it's moist, and that bale is becoming soil. And all of them are like that, and they're turning dark, and they're becoming soil. Now, so when I get ready to plant my tomato plant, I'm going to show you how I do that. I'm going to take one of these little fresh babies, and we're going to plant them a little bit later this week. We're going to keep them in the little greenhouse until after about Thursday. I think Thursday night is supposed to get down and maybe freeze, and you know, these plants would die if they get a freeze on them, and so we got to keep them warm. Now we can keep them from freezing in here by closing down the sides, closing the doors. We can make it warm in here. It's just a little more expensive if I have to add some heat. And so we want Mother Nature to do most of the heating of this high tunnel, and so we're going to wait for a couple of days. But anyway, let me show you tomatoes. Once you get a little closer look at this plant, how really nice and healthy it is. You see these roots? They've grown throughout this little cell into some potting mix. Now, tomato plant is really unique. Most of the time, there's a difference between the root zone and then the stem zone. But a tomato plant is really unique. A lot of plants will do this, but tomatoes are very good at it. I can plant this stem in soil. I can bury this tomato plant up, and roots like these will come out from that plant, and it'll create a great big root zone, which will eventually grow this thing into a great big healthy plant, and I'll have some really nice tomatoes. And so about the end of June, I'll have some really good tomato sandwiches out here on Wise Family Farm. So this is what I'm going to do with this tomato plant. I'm going to take this bale of hay that we opened, and I'm going to pull it back really nice and tall, really nice and deep, and I'm going to put that plant way down in there. I'm going to push it down there tight, and now that little tomato is just sitting in a cool, nice, damp, nutrient full. It's full of nutrients and healthy vitamins, and that plant's going to grow. And if Mr. Shannon come out here in 2 weeks, he wouldn't even know that plant. It'd be in really good shape. So that's a little bit how we plant out here on Wise Family Farm. And this no-till method, we use it in growing row crops. So we do not till the soil. Anytime you turn the soil over with a disc or a tiller, you destroy that soil profile. Well, we want these roots to go down through the soil zone and carry air and water down, and we want earthworms to work in the top of our soil and create a really good healthy soil for our plants. So come back again and see these tomatoes, Mr. Shannon, whenever we can eat them.